Hello guys, welcome back to another video on the cheap Porsche Boxster S. Right, it's time to get this thing ready for its MOT, its first inspection in I think over 2 years. I want to get this thing now back on the road. Obviously we've done a bit of work to it. We've fixed the oil leak, we've painted the calipers and mounted them back onto the car. So definitely need to do a full brake fluid flush. Obviously we need to get all of the air out of the system, but I'm going to do a full flush just to give it some nice fresh fluid. I've actually also fitted a brand new coil spring on this side. As you can see, it's looking nice and shiny because this one had snapped. I knew it had snapped when I bought the car. As you can see, yeah, it's just broke there on the end, and I'm also going to be swapping out the other side as well. The other side has not snapped. However, whenever I'm doing any sort of steering or suspension work, I like to do things in pairs. So yeah, going to be fitting a new one on that side too. Now when it came to swapping out this coil spring, I probably didn't do it the way that most people do, or the way that you should do it. So typically you would just remove the whole strip from the car. You would then put some spring compressors on here, remove the spring from the assembly, put it back on, and then reinstall the whole strut back into the car. How I done it, I didn't even remove the strut. I thought it'd just be a bit of a pain, you know, you end up with rusted nuts and things, and yeah, it just can, you know, be a bit of a pain, especially on a car that is 25 years old. So basically what I'd done was left the strut in place. I just removed the cover off the top here, there's like a rubber bung that sits there, remove that. Now just remove the nut on top, and then that allowed the, well, I guess the spring to become loose because it was snapped, so it was shorter, so it wasn't really under too much tension. And then I could basically just push down this strut with my hand. I mean, it wasn't easy, but I did manage to push it down. And I think what I'd done, I think I only had to unbolt the track rod end, and then I could sort of move the hub down and over to one side and just yeah, push that down and off, pull it over, and then pull the spring off, put the new one in place, and then push it all back where it should be. Obviously it sounds very easy how I'm explaining it, but just trust me, it wasn't easy. With that being said, though, I think it was a lot quicker than if I was, like I said, if I had to remove the whole strut itself. So I think I've saved a bit of a potential headache. I've also gave the shock itself a bit of a clean up and a bit of a paint. This is just surface rust. It basically looked something a little like that. Like I said, it's literally just surface rust. You know, this thing is absolutely solid, so I'll give that a bit of a paint up, and I'll also do the same to the rear shocks as well. Okay, so just kind of part way through doing the other side spring, and I thought I'd kind of show you the setup that I'm using if I didn't explain it well enough. So as you can see, shock is still in place, spring is well and truly removed. Just put the spring compressor on that, and then obviously allowed me to remove it. Obviously top nut removed from the strut, so that is away from the car. The top hat, that remains in the car. Obviously you just lift the bearing off, remove the spring away. I've just got a cable tie just to keep the strut compressed. What I'll do is I'll put the new spring in place, put the bearing back on top of it, and position that shock back up in that hole there. Now of course get that nut back in place. Okay then, so as you can see, other side new spring fitted as well, and I've actually just bled all the brakes all around as well with my pressure bleeder, obviously starting from the furthest caliper away, which is this one, and went to that one, then this one, and finally the driver's side one over there. Now, if you wonder how you bleed these calipers, as there is 2 bleeder screws, you start with the outside one first and then you do the inside one after. Like I said, brakes all now bled, pedal feels good. Let's get the wheels back on, get this thing back on the ground, and let's get it taken for an MOT. So, just got back from taking this thing for its MOT, and we have some bad news, although it's not terrible news. So, failed its MOT. What did it fail on, you may be wondering? So, it failed on, for dangerous defects, both of the rear tyres. Now, here in the UK you have to have at least 1.6mm of tread on your tyres in the middle 3/4, I believe. I measured them before I went out and there was at least 2mm. So, did he measure them? I don't know. I'm not going to argue. I wasn't going to argue with him because I know all of the tyres need replacing anyway. They're old, and I've actually got booked in now to get all tyres replaced, so not too fussed with that. Repair immediately, major defects. So just one bulb is out the driver's side, so the offside front side light. Very, very small bulb, but just need to replace that. Should have checked really before I left, but I was in a bit of a rush. So yeah, just a small bulb that I need to replace. And then a problem with the seat belt, but that is completely my fault. I'll show you what's up with that in just a second. But I'm not sure if I showed you the state of the front springs that I removed. So this of course is the broken one. As you can tell, it's shorter than the other one that I removed. This one's still intact. However, it has rusted in the very same place that the broken one did. So it's just as well that I did replace it, because if you end up in a pothole, then there's a good chance that this one could have snapped as well. It's why you always swap out suspension and steering components in pairs. If one has failed, chances are the other one is not far behind it. Now then, the issue with the passenger seat belt, well, it's pretty stupid, to be honest. Basically, when I removed the hardtop that used to be on this thing, you have to remove this trim panel. And when I'd done just that, I actually put the trim panel over the seat belt. So just got to remove that trim, get the seat belt out, and then obviously it can work as it should. Because yeah, at the moment, the only thing this is going to do is just go around your neck. So yeah, I need to get that out of there. And now for that front bulb that's out, it is just the side light bulb just in there. As you can see, that one's not illuminated, but that one is. So it should just be quite an easy fix for that, really. Not expensive and not difficult to do at all. And then these are the rear tyres. Basically the same on both sides. And then there was an advisory for the front tyres as well. There is probably 5mm tread on them, but they're old, so like I say, I'm going to be swapping out all 4 of them. Last thing you want is old knackered tyres on a Porsche Boxster. So yeah, kind of glad in a way that this thing failed, because at the very least it would have had the advisory for the front tyres. So when I take this thing back with 4 fresh tyres, obviously that seat belt outside of that trim and that bulb fixed, this thing should be advisory free, which is pretty crazy because it's been off the road for best part of 2 years, I think. As always then, I want to thank you all for watching this video. Give it a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you have not already done so, and I will see you all in that next one.